Call to order, Planning Commission, public hearing and regular session, Cape Charles Civic Center, 500 Taswell Avenue, October 5th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Grossman present.
Buda present.
McCoy present.
D'Amico present.
Mike?
True, present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Let it be shown that Commissioner Holloway is not here. Would we all stand for the invocation and followed by the pledge?
There he is. Move the flag.
Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Do any commissioners object to the consent agenda?
Yes. I've got a question.
Okay.
Katie, is the application for 654 Madison complete? CUP?
That's not the consent agenda. That's not part of the consent agenda. Just the consent agenda, item 3, the consent agenda.
Oh,
Well, part of it is the approval of the agenda format. I think that's what you're touching upon.
Okay, so if you're talking about,
Yes, we got everything in today.
yeah,
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda, which is the approval of format as well as meeting minutes of July 13th.
second.
okay, we have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so now I want to read the public hearing notice. The Cape Charles Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 5th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Cape Charles Civic Center, 500 Taswell Avenue, to receive comments on the following requests. A conditional use permit application from Renato and Jody Lucatello at 602 Taswell Avenue, tax map number 83A3-1-448 in the Residential 1 zoning district for an accessory dwelling unit pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 3.2, Bolegs C, Bolegs 7, and 4.2, Bolegs J. B, a conditional use permit application from Susan, John, and Kelly Robertson at 206A Jefferson Avenue, tax map number 83A1-1-220 in the Residential 1 zoning district for an accessory dwelling unit pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 3.2, Bolegs C, Bolegs 7, and 4.2 Bolegs J. C, a conditional use permit application from Jose and Diana Gonzalez at 325 Madison Avenue, tax map number 83A1-1-191 in the Residential 1 zoning district for an accessory dwelling unit pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 4.2 Bolegs J. D, a conditional use permit application from Michael Ryan and Anna Lee Wilkins at 654 Monroe Avenue, tax map numbers 83A3-1-323, located in the Residential 1 zoning district for an accessory dwelling unit pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 4.2 Bolegs J. This application was available for public review on the website at www.capecharles.org. Okay. So, I will now let the Planning Zoning Administrator give a summary of the applications.
Sure. So the first one we'll take up is the Lucatellas at 602 Taswell Avenue. They're seeking to construct an accessory structure of 2 stories, which is a total height of 24 feet, at a total of 540 square feet. The first floor is to be used as a garage, and the second floor as an accessory dwelling unit. Hence the request for a conditional use permit to allow the second floor of the accessory structure to serve as a dwelling unit. We did provide for you all of the requirements under our ordinance of section 4.2J for accessory dwellings. In addition, we have also provided you the requirements for the consideration of a conditional use permit, which specifically, I'm going to touch upon those just to remind us of those, that we are looking for findings, if you are in support of this, that show that this will not adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of the persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use, or adversely affect other land uses within the particular surrounding neighborhood, will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property improvements in the neighborhood, and will not be in conflict with the purpose of the comprehensive plan of the town. As you know, this is a recommendation that goes on to town council for a public hearing before that body. And again, just a reminder for everyone that conditional use permits shall be valid for only the specific use it covers in the specific location, and designated for a period of 1 year after town council takes action on it. And the intent of that is to ensure that it gets activated upon and applied and moved into motion. And there's the potential to seek an extension, but only after it's been good faith efforts to show progress in the implementation of the conditional use permit. So just setting the stage for all of these conditional use applications. So specifically, we do find that this particular application, which we have provided you a site plan and showing their drawings as well on our staff report, is actually in compliance with our comprehensive plan, section 3A.5.2, which identifies a goal to promote compatible infill development and renovation within established neighborhoods, and to specifically promote accessory dwelling units to add diversity of housing types while maintaining the neighborhood character and providing affordable housing options. So we are recommending a favorable consideration by the Planning Commission this evening, and we are prepared to answer any questions you may have on the specifics of this application from the Lucatellas at 602 Taswell.
Questions from any commissioners? Paul? Yes.
I have a question with regards to the accessory dwelling units. You cover all the points there. What I don't see covered is the accessory structure requirements, which are also required to be followed. And I'm not saying, I went through all and found it fell within that, except for one piece of information that I don't know. Here we talk the height of this accessory dwelling unit is 24 feet. And our ordinance on accessory structures says the height no more than 2/3 of the main structure height, or 24 feet, whichever is less. So my question is, what is the height of the main structure?
Sure, I can tell you when I did the zoning review in advance of this, it met the requirements of our zoning ordinance and all elements for the accessory structure. I can't remember the specific.
Okay,
height
if you've
of
already
this.
reviewed it, I'll trust you there, because I'm going to ask the same questions as we go through
To
each
them.
one of these
And
items.
And I know Mr. Lucatella is on the phone, and he may be able to pull that answer immediately. I don't want to put the wrong number out there without the full thing in front of me, that's all.
Okay.
But I did do the zoning review to get it this far, yes.
Other commissioners' questions?
Does Mike have any questions?
Mike, do you have any questions?
Negative.
Okay. If there are no other questions, there is a motion
Before we move to the motion, Mr. Chairman, we would like to hear from the applicant, Mr. Lucatella, who is on the phone.
Mr. Lucatello, are you on the phone?
I am indeed, yes.
Okay.
Hello there. Good evening.
I'm sorry. Would you like to say anything?
Well, the only thing I can say is I don't have an actual height of our main structure on the site. All I do know is that the 24-foot is below the two-thirds of the height of the building, but I can't give you an actual height of our main residence building on the site. It's a two-story building, so we are very confident that it's below that, and it's within the
Mr.
guidelines.
Lucatello, you're chopping up and quite erratic on our reception.
I know, and I'm afraid you are to me as well. Because I'm
Okay, so I think I heard what you said, Mr. Lucatello. You said that you didn't know quite the exact height of the house, but you said that the 20.
I don't
Yep.
exactly. I do not know the exact height of the house, but I do know that the 24-foot is within the two-thirds of the height of the house.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
That makes sense.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm afraid not. No.
Okay. Thank you.
And apologies for breaking up, but I'm
Well,
calling from London here. So.
And the same here. And we appreciate you getting on the phone from London. So thank you.
Okay.
And now public comment.
Any public comments?
Midnight there, no, 11 o'clock.
Any public comments?
I did not have any write-ins or any sign-ups for this property.
Okay, the staff recommendation,
Again, just to reiterate, the staff is recommending Planning Commission favorable consideration and approval. We have provided you a proposed motion within the staff report, along with supporting rationale for this.
I would like to make a motion.
please.
I would like to deny this conditional use request for an accessory dwelling unit for 602 Taswell because it does not meet the zoning ordinance requirements, the comp plan, or the intent of this ordinance.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Okay. There was no second.
Push.
All right,
I'd like to
Oh,
move that
okay.
we accept this motion.
I'll second it.
okay,
Can we just be clear as to what motion?
yeah. Can you-
On the accessory dwelling for 602 Taswell.
Why don't you read it?
So are you specifically indicating that you would motion to recommend approval of a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit at 602 Taswell Avenue on an application filed by Renato and Jody Lucatello pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 4.2J with the following conditions? The applicant applies and obtains Historic District Review Board approval for all exterior improvements in accordance with the Historic District overlay and guidance documents. And the applicant obtains all required permits and approvals from the building and planning departments. And you further find that the CUP standards in section 4.3 are satisfied and that the issuance of the CUP is in general accordance with the current comprehensive plan.
Mr. Chair, what she said.
I'll second it.
Okay. So that's why it's in your packet. If you don't have that in your packet, if you can't get to it on the future ones, please look at it. Okay, so we have a motion for 602 Taswell and a second. Any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I've done some research on this because in the past, we have found that we can interpret zoning ordinances in a lot of ways. So I wanted to look back and see what were the minutes like when this was being discussed, accessory dwelling units. And what I discovered was, well, first, that the comp plan encouraged accessory dwelling units, but the zoning ordinance hadn't caught up yet. So then there became a time when the planning commission and the town council were spending a lot of time working out the details of accessory dwelling units. But if you read their discussions, and you were there on some of them, and Dennis too, maybe Michael, it was always discussed as affordable housing or affordable workforce housing. It was never, ever, ever discussed as short-term rental, vacation rental. So I'm having a problem with actually all four of these applications because I feel like we are trying to create, or trying to fix a problem we have in the town, which is affordable housing, which we saw this summer in detail with our restaurants and all of our businesses who closed early, closed days because they didn't have people to work for them. And I've looked at research into other jurisdictions, and one of the things that I've found is most of them agree with ours, except to the point that a lot of them have put in restrictions that are rent control restrictions. So really, the term accessory dwelling unit speaks to workforce housing, not to the opportunity for more short-term rentals in our town.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yes, you can. Oh,
The intent obviously was not short-term rentals. And the fact that we inserted 30 days and longer as far as rent was the cutoff. Now, you may feel that's not adequate, but there was debate on what is the length of time that would be. And that was injected into the ordinance to differentiate short-term versus long-term. And that's one of the reasons people need to sign statements now as the intent of meeting that 30-day or longer requirement.
Mr. Lucatello has signed that form. It's in our
Yeah.
packet, saying that he understands this is not short-term rental.
And additionally, we've had discussions on accessory dwelling units where they have a family member that would stay in that short-term rental. I mean, we just had one like 2 or 3 months ago, and we went back and forth because they weren't going to do that, and we told them that it had to be a long-term rental.
And they withdrew, right?
Yeah. And then they changed, so.
well, you know, workforce housing or even affordable housing is very different than 30 days for a family member or 30 days for someone who wants to come here for a vacation or someone who wants to live in a tiny home and rent out their larger home. I'm feeling like this is not a good thing for our town. We are getting a great many rental units, and single-family zoning is one family. We are allowing accessory dwelling units because we need places for affordable housing. We are not allowing 2 units on a piece of property for rental purposes, vacation rental purposes.
Okay, well, all I can offer is that the ordinance is written as it is, and if you're suggesting it to be changed, that's another subject in itself.
Well, you know, you can say that, but how come when it suits other people's purposes, it's an intent, we can say, well, it really means this.
It's the black and white, what's written
It's
down.
not black and white.
Well, you've gone through all the requirements. The planner, zoning administrator has gone through all those requirements, ticked off all the boxes and said, all has been met.
Oh, so since short-term rental was never mentioned, and it also, here's another question I have. The purpose was that it says accessory dwelling units have to be in an accessory building that has an accessory use. Well, some of these don't have accessory uses. And also, would you consider the principal building to be the principal dwelling unit if it's rented short-term? Shouldn't it be rented either long-term or the owner should be living in it, and then they are renting their accessory dwelling unit for additional income?
All right, to me, the main unit is your principal unit. Doesn't say who owns it or who lives in it. It's just the principal unit of the house that's on that particular site.
And so when you say principal unit, you would define that as?
The house itself.
Okay, so if there's two, there's,
Yeah, the accessory unit, start with the accessory structure. That has certain requirements, and it has to be a certain size and a distance in relationship to the principal main building. And then I can convert that accessory structure into a dwelling unit. And then I have certain requirements that has to be met. So those are the two sets that I look at as far as whether or not these particular applications fulfill those requirements.
so you are not considering intent at all?
Well, their stated intent was to rent it.
Not
out
their
for-
intent, but the intent of the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. What was the intent?
We have
Was
to
the
go with the
intent to
law.
provide a great deal of rental housing for vacationers? Was that the intent?
No, for long-term residents.
Then
and
we, then,
the 30-day requirement was injected. And you can
30
take-
days, huh?
And you can take objection to that, but that was what was inserted.
That is the requirement of the
That's
zoning
I
ordinance,
know
is
it.
30 days.
I know it.
So you may object to that 30 days, but that's
I do.
not relevant to the consideration of this application. This is the standard that they are being held to, is a 30-day occupancy term.
30
Yeah.
days or greater.
And considering the Lucatellas, they live in London, and they said that, and this is what they said, the apartment to be used as private residence for the homeowners only, and at this stage, not for rental. At this stage, not for rental. So we would need to put something in there that says they cannot rent that apartment if you're going to consider that their residence.
This is not the purpose of this discussion. This discussion is to either decide to withhold or move forward to town council for their consideration to approve.
It's true, but,
And this is based on the current CUP documents that says, here's the process we go through, here's the approval process, here's all the due diligence we go through, and we go forward from that. You're raising issues, and they're valid issues, but this is not the forum nor the time for those issues. You need to consider talking to the chairman about getting some of those topics on the agenda for a future discussion, so we can work through those things and get your issues resolved. But no, I'm not saying.
so,
Go ahead.
so I guess I need to,
Mr. Lucatello would like to speak.
oh, okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Lucatello, now we can't even understand anything you're saying, so you're very broken. So I'm sorry. Okay,
If I may offer a suggestion to move this forward to address the items raised by Diane. In our recommendation, we are specifically recommending it based upon the application filed by the Lucatellas, and we've identified that.
Right.
And so when we move over to town council with whatever recommendation you have, if that should be in the affirmative, we can make it clear what are the conditions and elements contained in that application to see if they would include that in any motion that they may make moving forward. So it would become part of a conditional use permit if it gets approved by the town council. So therefore, if they wish to change any of those terms or conditions, they would have to apply to town council to amend a conditional use permit if it is successfully approved now. Does that make sense? So her concern about if it should be used outside of, as they defined it and described it in their narrative, then that would be a condition attached to it. And if they choose to move in a different fashion in terms of its rental capacity, they would have to come back to the town council to amend that conditional use permit. That might address some of the concerns raised by the commissioner. Does that make sense? I'm seeing puzzles.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I do have a question. So you're saying then that that our recommendations to the town council are not a yes or no. They could be a yes, but we are concerned about this, this, and this.
We are recommending with conditions, and I read those conditions.
Yep.
And that was motioned by Mr. Buda and seconded by Paul. Somebody over there.
On that side.
So, again, we can make it really clear what is contained in the application filed by by the Lucatellas relative to what those conditions are as well. So if they included a statement indicating this would only be rented, and I forgot your exact words, I'm sorry, I don't have their narrative in
It
front of
was
me.
not going to be rented.
Not going to be rented, we can include that as part of that conditional use permit terms and conditions. If that's what this board would wish to do as a recommendation, we would contain that in the staff report over to town council as well, if that is the will of this body.
From what was read, I don't think they are abrogating the right to, in the future, rent it out. They just said at this time.
Right.
And I don't think
I
we
think
can
you're
take
right.
that right away from them.
Can I try and say something?
Yes.
Possible?
Speak slowly, sir.
Okay. Yes, we did say at this stage we do not want to rent it out as a vacation property because, of course, circumstances might change in the future. As you all know, the main house is a vacation rental. We live in London, but our objective in the future, because we bought this place 10 years ago, was to make it our family home eventually. And when we are able to do that, then yes, perhaps the accessory building will become either a long-term rental or a rental or a short-term rental, but we will be living in the main structure. So of course, at this time, we do say that it will not be used as a rental property, but things can change. If we sold the property off, somebody might want to just live in the main house and rent the apartment of the garage as a long-term rental. And that's why we're saying at this stage we don't want it. But we do know the rules that you cannot rent both properties at the same time. And we have absolutely no intention of doing that. But, we're building a garage and we feel that we want to make the most of it. And within all the guidelines, we feel that it will be beneficial for us and the town to build a small studio apartment above it. Because it could be used in the future productively in the town.
All right, thank you.
So I want to make sure, did everybody understand what Mr. Lucatella said?
No.
I know that was challenging to hear, but what I captured out of it is, right now, yes, they would like to use the accessory structure for residents when they are in town. They are renting the primary structure, but it is their intent and desire to make the home, the principal structure, their residence here in the near future. And they want to leave the capacity or availability of using the accessory structure as a rental property when that happens.
Long-term rental.
Right.
Yep.
I hope everybody caught
Thank you,
it.
Katie.
I captured it correctly.
Thank you.
one last thing.
Oh,
In the comp plan, it says that the point of accessory dwellings is to add diversity to the housing types and, not or, and provide affordable housing options. So are we going against the comprehensive plan by approving approving another rental unit for short-term?
I don't think so.
That's not what they're doing. There is no short-term rental here.
No. I mean,
But they are
We don't know who
building
that
a
is.
secondary home, a second house on the property, so that they can continue to rent out the main house. And when they come here for their 30-day visit, they can continue to rent that house and stay in this one.
But he also said that they intend to eventually move here and live in that house, and then they would
Well,
rent out the.
Doesn't
accessory
everyone, but they live in London.
I-
I mean, that's different than somebody saying, one of you, I think, is from Henrico. I mean, that's really different.
Please, go ahead. Please talk slowly.
Okay. To be perfectly honest, I don't want to do anything with that accessory building at the moment while the main house is being rented as a short-term rental. I don't even want to use it myself when I come and visit Kitchener, because we're a family of four, we want to stay in the main house. It's not for us. It's just the opportunity at this stage to make use of that very building, because we will put it to very good use in the future. And we have absolutely no intention of using it as a short-term rental, and we never have. To be perfectly honest, we never even wanted to use the main house as a rental. It was only because we took a huge loan to finish the property that we didn't know that for the short term we need to rent it to try and claw back some of that time paying off the big loan that we had. But this was always a grand plan. From 10 years ago, we came, we invested in it in town, we used all local labour, and we built this beautiful house, and it was a dream house for us. And now we're having to rent it out just so that we can afford to keep it. So, 2 years down the line, when we're ready to move over and our kids are old enough to come over, then we want to make use of the secondary building that we have on that. Whether it's the use for short-term rental, long-term rental, or for just our own family. It's just an opportunity for us to make the most of what we want to build on our site. And I believe we followed all the guidelines, and it's within all the guidelines of doing so.
Thank you. Okay,
Do you know what he said?
not really, except he reiterated what he said before.
Right, and he's just finding this an opportunity to maximize, if I've heard correctly, maximize the use of their property in a financial way. They really don't intend on making this a short-term rental, long-term objective either. They intend on moving here and being able to move into the residence. I heard that again. And then, yes, using this accessory structure to meet the requirements of this ordinance. So,
Call the question?
Yes. Well,
he's called the question.
Oh.
Any further discussion?
When you call the question, that's a non-debatable motion. That just is.
Ends discussion.
Yep. So you've got a motion on
Okay.
the floor for a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. Oh, I'm the only nay person, okay.
All right. Next one is 206A Jefferson.
Okay, Okay, the next one is at 206A Jefferson Avenue. Susan, John, and Kelly Robinson, right here. So they are seeking accessory dwelling unit pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance, section 3.2C7 and 4.2J. And this is an approval after the fact to utilize a 576 square foot accessory structure as an accessory dwelling unit. Our office got informed that this structure was in existence and being used in this capacity after we spoke with the property owners and confirmed that this what is occurring. And the town had not approved a conditional use permit for the accessory dwelling. We contacted the property owners and indicated they needed to apply for a conditional use permit in order to address the violation if their intent was to have an accessory dwelling unit on the property in addition to the primary house. I did want to clarify, they purchased this property in May of this year of 2021, and they actually inherited the way this property was being used, and they felt and had been informed that this was an approved and acceptable use of the property. I did want to make that clear to you. And I think they've acted very quickly once they were contacted by my office to get their application into us to try and rectify this situation. So again, as I mentioned, it's an approval after the fact. A little bit of history, as Commissioner D'Amico has referenced earlier. The accessory structure, in this case, was built in the mid to late 2010s when the ordinance did not specify the requirements for an accessory dwelling unit, but also did not give authority for an accessory dwelling unit as a by right use either. And the town actually did not amend the zoning ordinance until 2017 regarding accessory dwelling units. So I can see we're going to continue to have this over the next few months as we are going through this issue, trying to see where we might have accessory structures being utilized for dwellings. There's been inconsistency in the advice and guidance given out of the zoning and planning department as to what needed to happen for accessory dwelling units and dwelling structures. And I think one of the things that in my ruling of how the zoning ordinance needs to be applied and administered is in the absence of the ordinance being specific authority being given for these. This is a Dillon rule state.
Right.
So it should have been no. But that doesn't appear to have always been the case. And I need to make you aware, some of these are going to be challenging because there has been now legal non-conforming status assigned to these. So we appreciate those coming forward because that's my goal at this point. If we can ensure that they are properly permitted at this point,
Yep.
that observes the legal non-conforming status that they truly have earned at this point. While we may have been in error ever allowing them to happen,
Yep.
they happened. And they still have a right to continue to happen. So if we can just try and clean it up a little bit, that's our goal.
If we can move the needle closer to compliance, we're in a better place.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. And
exactly.
so that is what we are
Yep.
trying to do at this point with the next few that you're going to see. So I just wanted to put
Okay.
that in motion.
Thanks, Katie.
So with everything else, again, we have looked through the comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinance, and we do feel this would be an improved situation if we can get them with a conditional use permit, and that they would be in compliance with those elements of both the comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinance requirements. Again, this is an existing structure. This is not something proposed to come online as the prior application. This is now trying to clean it up with an after the fact. And we did provide you a proposed motion for your consideration. So I'll stop if there are any questions for me.
I have a question.
Yes.
All right, so in your staff report, you talk about the accessory dwelling ordinance in 2017. However, the accessory structure ordinance had been in place for quite some time. I didn't have the time to go back and figure out.
And they did receive the permits. Those don't require a conditional use permit for an accessory structure.
But,
It was permitted for an accessory structure through the building department.
okay, but did I have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals in order to go through the particular, they have 3 particular instances where they don't meet accessory structure and/or accessory dwelling.
I did not find any activity before the BZA or the Planning Commission on this particular property.
Now, that's my question. Why wouldn't this go to the Board of Zoning Appeals instead of here? I mean, it doesn't meet the requirements.
Can I say?
But-
Yeah, well,
But it's an approved,
That house was put there in the 80s or 90s.
hold on, please, ma'am, sorry. This is an approval after the fact, so,
Right.
so whether we agree or disagree with how the town issued the permit for it, the town issued the permit already.
Okay, I'm just questioning the authority. I have a different view on the ones that were already built. It's like water under the bridge, okay. I just want to ensure that we have the ability to approve the conditional use permit, knowing full well that they
Yes.
violate current ordinance.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking.
This has actually been one of the issues I have raised, not this particular property, but similar properties. I have talked with town council over this, or your town attorney, about very similar circumstances where there have been approvals forthcoming out of this office that were clearly not in compliance with the town zoning ordinance. How are we to treat those today? And they are legal, non-conforming, whether they should have been approved or not, and most likely should not have been approved as is, but the town did approve them. Those town officials that were entrusted with that authority did approve them. And so they have now inherited certain rights under the Code of Virginia called legal non-conforming status. So they have established a legal right to continue operating in this fashion. But my goal now is if I can try and lessen that non-compliance status, that's really where I'm trying to get us into the point where we can bring them a little more under the umbrella of being in compliance with our zoning ordinance at this point in time. I don't disagree with your analysis of it, but that ship has sailed. Can't-
Okay, I just wanted to ensure we have the ability to approve, knowing full well of the violations.
Yes.
Total lot size, do we know this is a standard 40 by 140?
I thought it did.
I don't believe it is.
It is.
It is? It is 20 by 140. I couldn't remember because there's a 206 and then 206A with the house and then with the accessory structures as a whole, it is. I couldn't remember.
That's just an address, isn't it?
The
The
tax,
206 and 206,
I can-
206 is the front house, 206.
No, I know, but it's one parcel.
if I may,
Yes, one
Yeah.
parcel, 140 by 40,
Okay.
140 by 40.
the county tax record shows that lot 220
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it
is
up
40
right
by
now.
140.
Right.
Okay.
And the primary house size is 600,
990,
990?
yep. It still doesn't meet the 45.
Oh.
All right, well, the drawing shows 600, all right.
Well, that's,
Well, that's on
it's,
that, all right, I'm looking on,
you gotta look at the living area.
all right. The parking, where is parking for this accessory dwelling?
It's in the 20-foot space between the alley and the house,
It's in the alley, okay? That's-
In the alley or?
in the alley. It's on the lot.
Yeah,
Is
22,
that a public alley or is that privately owned?
41-foot setback to the street.
There's a
Yeah.
problem with the alleys in
I
this
know.
town, and who owns what, okay?
You can park on the lot. The parking is on the lot, within the 140. It's as a driveway.
There is an alley presence back on this block. I can't confirm or deny if that is a town-maintained or town-owned alley, or if that is an alley that is under the responsibility of the adjacent property owners.
Yeah, it's not
But
a
I know that
through
there's an
alley.
alley.
Yeah.
Yes, and it doesn't go all the way through. No, it does not.
This has been the hardest one for me of the four. I've been down that alley many times recently, just looking at the situation and even snuck on other people's yards to look at it from the side. That has clearly been there for a while. And there are other units like that all the way down the alley, and they also appear to be living spaces. That's why I would like it to be more legal than just us saying, yeah, it can be an accessory dwelling unit. I would like it to actually be determined or stated that it's non-conforming, or that, you know, that, and if it is, it can't be made any larger, it can, and all the requirements of that.
It cannot under the legal non-conforming statute of your zoning ordinance.
But who made it legal, non-conforming?
The town did by approving the building permit.
When did they approve the building permit? What year?
In the 80s and 90s.
Do we have it?
It was built by the Parkses for their mother to live in it.
Well, I'm just saying, you're making the assumption that it was legal, that there was a building permit, and I don't know that that's a case. I'm asking if it is, though.
Yes, it doesn't mean that we still have possession of that building permit, because you only have to keep a building permit for so many years under the Records Retention Act. The state does not require us to maintain those records in perpetuity. I just want you to be aware of that.
The woman that built it for her mother is 88 years old now, or if she's still alive.
Yeah.
So her mother would have been in her hundreds, 200, I mean, 110, whatever. So it was a long, my grandmother lived across the street.
Yeah,
She's been there for a long time.
I'm trying to make this work for you. I know I don't sound like I
So
am.
hang on, we're really outside the format of the public
Yeah.
hearing process right
Okay,
now.
Oh,
I
sorry.
don't want us to engage in
Yeah.
a debate with the property owners. So can we finish any conversation you need from me or questions you have from me to then hear from the applicant?
Any other questions, commissioners, on this property?
Okay.
Okay, so now,
We'd like to hear from
if
the
you'd like to
property.
say something.
As of October 1st, that is our principal residence, the front house. Our daughter has moved in there. We just moved the third U-Haul into there this afternoon. That is going to be a permanent residence. We are not renting the front house anymore. It is, if you look
Oh.
at VRBO, it's off VRBO.
Did I read that wrong?
So that's gone.
So she's in the front
She's in the
residence?
front residence, and it's actually our principal residence. We're actually staying at my 88-year-old mother's house to take care of her. But that is our principal residence now.
Oh.
I have a P.O. box in Cape Charles, and we have 206 Jefferson as our principal residence. And so the three of us technically are living there. Not quite sure how the three of us are gonna fit, but
And we would like to rent
the back
auxiliary property as a long-term rental.
as a long-term rental. And it was built, honestly, I couldn't find, I looked all over the Northampton County records. It was, I mean, my grandmother died in 2000, 2003. It was there long before that.
Yeah.
So, and it has been rented for the last 25 to 30 years. Someone had, and the county actually has it as a tenant house. And I found a little thing that says potential livable accessories from 2006, and we're listed as a 5.
Oh.
So we're very livable. So, you know, it was, I did find this thing about why they wanted you to be able to have it, and it said because the houses were expensive, and in order to help people live in the front, they wanted them to be able to afford to live there because the houses cost so much now. So they have to be able to have something, some way to offset the cost of that house. So that's why we rented it. That's exactly why we bought that lot, because our daughter is mild autism. She needed something for some money to help. The house was very expensive, but we needed somewhere that she could live, that we could rent something to help offset the cost.
Since that's not in here, do we need to add that for the record? That they've changed this, that they're gonna live in the main house and rent the back house?
I think that is what they said.
I didn't read it that way.
We would like to rent our auxiliary detached building located at 206A Jefferson to a long-term renter. 206 Jefferson will be the permanent residence of Kelly Robinson, our daughter, and an owner of the property. They are all co-owners of this property, if I've read your deed
The
correctly.
three of us are co-owners.
So, so what they really want is an accessory, they wanna call the back house an accessory house.
206A.
Okay.
Yep.
So they don't, because this is confusing, but fine. All right, as long as we're certain, as long as we have that somewhere in the minutes, I guess we'll be fine.
That's their,
Yep.
part of their application.
Yep. Further, are you finished?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, because it was a rental when I was young, I didn't have any idea that it couldn't be a rental. I mean, it's been around, like I
That's
said,
what we're
25,
advertising,
30
is
years.
206A.
It's a systemic issue, as Katie mentioned.
She just said the
Yeah.
front, they're gonna live in the front now.
Oh, and we did apply for a permit to
It's the
rent it
main
this
house,
summer,
where
and
the
we were
daughter's gonna
approved
live as
that.
well. They're gonna live there too.
Yeah.
206A.
Oh, I see, I
Okay.
see, so it's not the parents in the front and the.
Make a motion?
Please make the motion. It's-
All right, I'd like to make a motion that the commission recommends approval of a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling at 206A Jefferson Avenue as an after-fact approval. In addition, with the following condition, to obtain a certificate of occupancy through the building department for this accessory dwelling unit, period.
If I may, before anyone seconds that motion, I don't think we actually opened it up to public comment, your
No,
public hearing.
you're right.
So I want to stop you from moving forward with your motion.
Yep.
So we have no one signed up for any public comments. I don't know if anyone wishes to speak.
Do we have any public comments from anybody else?
So hearing none, we would go ahead and close the hearing.
Second?
Oh, make him say it again.
No, I heard it.
Sorry to interrupt the process. Now you can go with your motion. I apologize.
All right, so let me repeat then. Recommend that the planning commission recommends approval of the conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit at 206A Jefferson Avenue as an after-the-fact approval with the following condition: to obtain a certificate of occupancy through the building department for this accessory dwelling unit, period.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
And am I clear to say you don't wish to put any of the supporting
No,
rationale?
I don't need all that verbiage in my motion.
So that means we're not providing any rationale to the town council as to why you're recommending it.
That is a good point.
It passed muster.
Why did it pass muster?
He already mentioned that it's an after the fact.
Yep.
We've got,
I just want to be clear when I write it the staff report, so,
understand,
okay.
understand,
He
understand.
did say he would obtain a certificate of occupancy through the building department for
Yep.
this accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. The third one is a 325 Madison Avenue.
I'm coming, hang on. Okay. Again, they are seeking for an after-the-fact approval to utilize a 360-square-foot accessory structure as an accessory dwelling unit. Again, our office received a complaint. We investigated, and we determined that the structure was being used in this manner as an accessory dwelling, and that the town had not approved a conditional use permit for the accessory dwelling, and we contacted the property owners in order to address the violation. In that regard, sorry, let me get myself over here. The accessory structure was built in the mid to late 2010s when the ordinance did not specify the requirements for an accessory dwelling unit, but did not give authority for an accessory dwelling unit as a by right use. So again, we now have documentation from the property owner clarifying their use of the property and what they would propose to be doing on it. So I do direct you over to that document. And so we are looking for your consideration, and we have provided you a proposed motion for consideration of this application.
Discussion?
Question.
Paul?
I have two plats. One shows a proposed frame garage.
Right.
Is that superseded by the hand-drawn one? That proposed garage is not there, right? We're building a brand-new, or we have built one that's in accordance with the hand-drawn.
The hand-drawn one, on your seat.
Would you identify yourself, ma'am?
Yes,
just for
I'm
the-
Diana Gonzalez, I'm
Thank
one of
you.
the applicants. The hand-drawn one updates the plat that we have, which was made when we were building the main structure.
Also made it bigger.
So, much later, we built the accessory structure.
Okay, in accordance with the hand-drawn, okay?
That's accurate.
I had a question with regards to parking. The zoning administrator, how did you address parking on this?
Again, since this was an after effect, I haven't addressed it any differently. I haven't really examined it thoroughly, since this was already approved by the building department with a building permit issued for this structure, both the house and the accessory structure. So I have not made any petition or elements associated with this requiring on-site parking for these two structures.
Okay. The applicant had provided in their write-up a preference not to install a stove. What is required?
Well, this is where things get interesting. And I've had this conversation both with the building official, with members of the commission who were here when the accessory dwelling component was debated. I've looked under my planning commission documents trying to identify what makes an accessory dwelling. There's nothing that actually requires a stove, except our ordinance, which, let me get to the specifics of it.
Or the building code for a certificate of occupancy?
No. So, and I hope I'm saying that right, and I'm sure the building official will correct me if I've quoted him wrong. But under our ordinance, it says, shall have one kitchen and one bathroom. I cannot find a definition what composes a kitchen.
Right, I searched also and came to the same conclusion, but I'm wondering, does the building code that deals with the certificate of occupancy further outline what's required, in addition to fire extinguishers and,
Sure.
egress?
Relative to kitchen, no.
Okay.
And I say this because you could not have a stove, but there are now many appliances available on the market today that equate to the elements of a stove that don't require the same sort of permanent fixture status that a stove requires, and the wiring that is required under the building code to make that happen.
Okay, all right, that's, I just wanted to.
And what do they have instead?
A heating plate or?
Right, you could have a hot plate, you could have a rotisserie oven.
Microwave,
That can sit on the
toaster
countertop
oven,
and plug
induction,
in.
hot plate,
There are
that's
any
what's.
number of
Induction plate.
components today
Yeah.
that no
Induction
longer
burners,
require a
yeah.
stove to make it a functional kitchen.
All right,
That's
I want the applicant to be able to walk away understanding need or not.
Yes.
I remember a couple of months ago, when we were talking about something, and I was asking about the definition of it, because we didn't have a definition, and I was told just to use what is the general definition of it. If you said, what is a kitchen, what is a kitchen, what is a kitchen, everybody would include a stove. So we're not going with that on this one?
It's not defined.
Well, it wasn't defined before.
Well,
It's still not.
I just saw a thing where there's something you can put on top of a counter that has 3 plates on top of it, and it has a little oven underneath it, and it plugs in.
That's a stove.
Is that a stove?
You have
No.
air fryers today, you have rotisserie countertop models now. They don't require a permanent installation
Right.
to operate as a kitchen any longer.
Could I have a big fireplace like they used to cook in?
If it's in compliance with the building code,
How do you know these things are in compliance, though?
unplug them.
Okay, any other
Not
questions?
permanent.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
I do have a question. They received their certificate of occupancy on December 15th of 2017. According to your staff analysis, in 2017, we had accessory dwelling unit in the zoning ordinance. So that being the case, they should have known that they couldn't put an accessory dwelling unit. Is there any kind of fine that we are going to put on them or any requirements?
At this point, no, because again, that application started in that department before the zoning ordinance changed. So they had submitted a building application and started through and moved through construction, and received a building permit to construct as such before the zoning ordinance ever changed. So they got to go under the old standards that was in place at the time that they applied.
So they got a building permit for the accessory dwelling unit in 2016?
Before the zoning ordinance changed, yes. The C of O, it takes time once you pull a permit,
Yeah, I know.
before you get issued a C of O. It takes
Diane?
time to build it,
Systemic issue.
yes. So, and again, the mindset that I have been employing, dealing with these after-the-fact considerations, while we've been now informed of the violation, investigated, found it true in violation, we did not feel this was malicious at all. We really are just trying to bring it now into compliance and conformance at this point. And they were willing to take the step to do so, so no, we don't feel that any penalty
Exactly.
should be imposed at this point in time.
I just have to say this again. This was not the intent to have a big rental place like this. They do have a lot of people stay at this place. It's on my street. I see it all the time. I wish we would stop this and go back to what we thought this was, which was providing affordable housing.
Okay. Can I just ask a clarification? Is a CO issued or not?
For,
This,
A CO
For
is issued for the principal structure
okay,
as well as the accessory structure,
all right.
but it
But
was
not
never
for
for
the
the
dwelling.
dwelling.
Okay, okay,
And so
okay.
that's one of the elements we are trying to
Gotcha.
close the gap
All right,
on.
all right.
Yes.
what?
The accessory structure,
So they did not have an accessory dwelling unit, but they got a
An accessory-
certificate of occupancy for it.
for the accessory structure, if one is issued, and I'm gonna hesitate for a second here. So they completed that construction, that permit got finished and closed. Whether a certificate of occupancy gets issued on accessory structures, I do not know that. That's a question for our building official. I really am now trying
Yeah.
to close the gap, because there's a dwelling unit proposed or in this accessory structure. I do wanna make sure a C of O happens specific for that dwelling component of this structure. Because the dwelling unit was never part of that original vision
Right.
nor application that went to the building official, okay?
Right, so the initial certificate of occupancy would not have included the dwelling unit in the back.
Right, no dwelling unit. It may have been a garage in the back, it may have been
Well,
something
it
in the
wasn't
back.
there, but,
So,
okay.
that is part of what my proposed motion would do, is to ensure we also close the gap and get a C of O issued for the accessory dwelling unit through the building official.
Has our building official looked at it and made sure that it meets all the requirements, as Paul was mentioning?
They would have to come into compliance if it does not. So he hasn't done it yet, because it is still a matter pending before this body and then the town council, which would be a condition that they would have to comply with in order for the conditional use permit to be effective.
So in the timing of this, the building inspector would not go out until after the town council approves this.
That's correct.
But the conditional use would not go into effect until the certificate of occupancy is given. Even though,
It's a condition.
even though we have approved it and so has the town council.
But
So let's say the town council has.
We're
You
recommending.
recommend-
Well, I'm sorry, you're right. We're recommending and let's say the town council
Because
approves it.
we're strictly an advisory.
I know, I'm sorry. You're right. So that's true.
That's where we're headed towards, yes. That's
Right.
what we're trying to get accomplished here, yes.
Public.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for the zoning planning administrator? Would the applicants like to say anything?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I would like to let you know that we innocently fell into this situation. We never intended to compliance with any regulation. We fell in love with the town, as so many people do, by renting one, sometimes 2 units. We have a large family with 13 grandchildren. And over the years, we first acquired a property. We bought the last trailer in the 9-trailer trailer park that used to be there, and we moved it. That was a condition purchase. And we did not immediately intend to build, but the opportunity seemed to appear with the lower interest available. And so we decided to build a house that would accommodate our family and also help us pay for it, because on my minister's salary, I wouldn't have the means otherwise. And so we built. We hired a builder, the same as Mrs. D'Amico, because he was recommended to us by City Hall, because he knew all the rules. We were babes in the woods, knew nothing about building permits, ordinances. And so he did. He built us a beautiful house that we have enjoyed greatly. As we began to travel from where we lived in Chesapeake to clean it every Saturday during the summer, we realized that there was space, a lot of empty space in the back, and we thought we would build ourselves a little retirement home in the back. We had no idea about ordinances. As we inquired, we found out that City Council had been debating for a while, it seemed, and were in favor of an ordinance for accessory dwellings, but they had not yet published it. They were drafting it and writing it, and in their heart, apparently, it was approved, but it had not been published, so there was no ordinance. Meantime, we had put our home up for sale, and we had the pressure of having a pre-built structure in Pennsylvania, which required a couple months lead before we could have delivery, and we were caught in a wrinkle in time. There was no ordinance that would authorize a dwelling, and we had no home to live in, and we had renters coming. So we actually lived in our rental home, what we consider our big rental home, until the very last minute when renters came. And meantime, we consulted almost daily with the planning department. We felt guided by them. And the guidance they could give us, given the circumstance, since there was no legal way of applying for a dwelling, accessory dwelling, was choose either have a bathroom or a stove, but you cannot have both. That was all the guidance. And so we heard that several times from the planning officials, more than one. So we obeyed. We don't have a stove. We put a bathroom. And then we occupied. And then I considered the matter closed. And I apologize because I know we're out of compliance. We were informed. We immediately applied to come into compliance however we can. And so I just thought that background might help you to understand that confusing era in which there were changes in terms of our town planning and manager. We talked to both of them more than once, and of course to the inspector, the planning official, repeatedly, seeking for guidance. There was never any intent to be out of order, and we will do whatever it takes and pay whatever penalty. Of course, we want to be good neighbors and enjoy greatly living here. In fact, your lovely home and garden was one of the big reasons why we were persuaded this was the right community. Thank you.
Thank you.
In that area, we also received a written comment from Diana Gonzalez that I would like to read, and you're happy to read it or speak it yourself if you care to, but I'll go ahead and read it for you if you don't mind. Therefore, I'd like to point out that our situation is rather unique as it relates to parking. We live on the only block of Madison Avenue which faces Park Row. As a result, all the houses across the street from us have on-street parking on Park Row and additional rear-loading driveways on Madison Avenue. On our side of the street, we are the only vacation rental home on the block. None of our neighbors rent out their homes, and all have created off-street parking for their vehicles. The only exception is our only adjacent neighbor, Mrs. Janet Dudley, who parks her car on the street in front of her house. Our house manual specifically forbids our guests from taking that space, a rule all guests have honored since we built 4 years ago. We estimate there to be about 7 to 8 parking spaces on each side of our block that doesn't interfere with driveways, so 14 to 16 total spaces. Our house rental typically uses 3 to 4. We own 1 car. As such, we do not believe we put undue pressure on the parking situation on our block, although we do encourage any renters that bring boats to park them on the empty lot we also own, simply to keep traffic flowing smoothly. Therefore, we hope you will not consider parking a negative factor when considering our accessory dwelling application.
Thank you.
So when accessory dwelling units were encouraged in the new comp plan, but they hadn't yet shown up in the zoning ordinance.
Accessory dwelling units were talked about for 10 years.
Right.
And it just finally came to fruition in 2017.
Right.
But we wrote about it in the 2016 comp plan.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying there was that period of time when the comp plan said, oh, what a good idea, and the zoning ordinance hadn't caught up yet, which is where they are. They're in the middle of that.
About a
There.
year later, and that happens. When you change your upcoming comp plan, it may take up to a year or longer for any legal documentation to follow, to bring in periods of enforcement. Yes, periods of rule that you would like to see.
Well, I'm not
adhered
even
to.
questioning that. I understand that. I guess everyone I know who has built a home in Cape Charles that wasn't ready when they moved here rented a house. Nobody that I know of put up an accessory dwelling unit, especially since we didn't have any standards for one.
I will give my personal experience. My wife and I came here in 2002. We were concerned about the halting progress of the new construction. We mentioned this to our realtor. We wanted to get an opportunity to see it multiple times. We were currently living in our daughter's basement. Our daughter kicked us out. The real estate agent vacated his apartment and gave it to us to use for the duration of the construction process. So I didn't rent a house. I just got an apartment for free.
That's still the same thing, though, as I'm saying. I mean, I did the same thing as you, and I lived in Bay Creek for 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it just wouldn't have occurred to me to build another structure on that lot, especially if there's nothing that says how to do it. I just think it's odd. You know, I wish we could stop everything. Fix the zoning ordinance and then start again.
Okay, that's down the road.
Ah, yes, I do.
Okay. Any further public hearing? Do I have any public comments?
We do.
Do we? Okay.
Submitted comments. No one signed up to speak, but I do have submitted comments, sorry. The first one is from Janet Dudley. My name is Janet Dudley, and I live at 303 Madison Avenue. I totally support Jose and Diana Gonzalez's request to have their tiny house as a dwelling. They have been stellar neighbors, and whomever turned them in for living there have nothing better to do. Obviously, they need to get a hobby, other than trying to create havoc where none exists. The Gonzalez have not committed any crimes. They do not create any noise ordinances. They keep their property in good condition. They keep their rental property and guests informed about all town restrictions, and they don't have any dogs that bark all the time. In fact, most of the neighbors have dogs, including me, and they spoil mine all the time. So good for them for bring good neighbors and give them that permit. Respectfully submitted, Janet Dudley. This is from Edmund Sabo. Sir or ma'am, I am writing this letter in support of Jose and Diane Gonzalez. Request to convert an accessory building to an accessory dwelling at their address, 325 Madison Avenue. I have reviewed the applicable town ordinances and feel that they have fulfilled all the requirements necessary to do so. It is my understanding that they intended to originally classify the structure as an accessory dwelling, and not doing so was just an administrative error. I have lived next to the Gonzalez full-time for more than a year and have had no issues with them or their tenants. Quite the opposite. Since Jose and Diana live on the property with their rental house, they are immediately available if their renters have issues. Much better than if the house was owned by an absentee landlord or managed by a company which may have multiple units to care for. Also, since Jose and Diana live on site, they are members of our community, not just landlords. They are engaged in our neighborhood and town happenings. Jose and I meet regularly to talk, borrow tools, help move heavy items, all things good neighbors do. He is sure to ask if I have any concerns about his guests. But to date, his tenant selection process has been exceptional. I am confident I could discuss any issue with the Gonzalez and come to an understanding. I fully support Jose and Diana's request to convert their accessory building to an accessory dwelling and permit them to continue living on the site. Sincerely, Edmund J. Sabo II, Lucky Dog Cottage, 325 Madison Avenue. To whom it may concern, I'm writing on behalf of our neighbors at 325 Madison Avenue. We recently became aware of complaints lodged against Jose and Diane, their residents in the accessory building, and were shocked that anyone was able to find a reason. Having owned property and been neighbors since 2018, I can only say good things about the people, the property, and the business they run. In a small town, Jose and Diane have found a way to enjoy their time together while promoting the town, hosting tourists, and running a small business out of their home. Small business owners should be applauded for their efforts and ingenuity, not reported and scolded for using their property in a way they see fit that is not intrusive or disruptive to the neighborhood. I'm unfamiliar with the letter of the law, though I'm certain the spirit of the law and common sense would find that Jose and Diane's situation is in no way a disruptive or impediment to the neighborhood or broader town and should not been deemed a violation. The Pattons, 522 Strawberry Street. Good afternoon. We would like to submit this letter on behalf of our neighbors, Jose and Diana Gonzalez of 325 Madison Avenue, who have scheduled public hearing regarding their accessory dwelling behind their rental property. We don't see any problem with Jose and Diana using this dwelling to live in, as it is practical for them to live there while they keep an eye on and maintain their rental property. Let us begin by sharing with you that the Gonzalez property is behind our home on Park Row, and we could not ask for better neighbors. They go over and above for everyone in our immediate neighborhood. We are scheduled to move permanently to Cape Charles this month. However, Jose Gonzalez has been kind enough to move our trash can back into our yard when we are not in town for over 4 years now. We never asked for this favor. He just began doing this for us. He also does this the same for 2 other part-time residents. We can't tell you how many times we have seen the Gonzalez policing the street for trash, candy wrappers, empty cups, cans, bottles, no doubt caused by visitors to our town park. They maintain their property and the surrounding area. Due to the fact that they are on site, they have done nothing but keep their home, and their yard in tip-top shape. They personally manage the repair of their sidewalk, paths around their home, lawn care, landscaping, and their side property used for additional parking. The Gonzaleses were so concerned for their neighbors that they paid to create additional parking for all their house guests so that there are plenty of available spots for all, including the many visitors to our town park. Their rental home on Madison Avenue, Family Reunion, enjoys many visitors thanks to the wonderful care they put forth daily. The Gonzaleses do not much of the cleaning of this property themselves. Makes economic sense for a healthy, active, retired couple and take tremendous efforts to make certain their guests have a wonderful, memorable experience while visiting our little town. Thanks to all their immediate and thoughtful attention. The Family Reunion symbolizes a special place that we all here in town want Cape Charles to be for our visitors. Their daily upkeep does nothing but enhance the charm and stellar reputation that Cape Charles has with families who are seeking our town's unique experience. Diane and Jose are great neighbors. They are always cheerful, pleasant, positive, and upbeat, and highly concerned with our beautiful town. It is quite an asset for all of us to have them right here in town 24/7 to personally maintain their rental home. If we can provide any further insight in this matter for the public hearing, please do not hesitate to contact us. Kindest regards, Michael and Jean Hollister, 7 Park Row. And that is all I have.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we close public hearing?
And we got another one still.
Got another one?
Yeah.
That'll work.
So, any further discussion on this application? Do I have a motion?
I have a motion. I recommend a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit at 325 Madison Avenue as an after-the-fact approval on an application filed by Jose and Deanna Gonzalez pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 4.2J with the following condition: to obtain a certificate of occupancy through the building department for this accessory dwelling unit, and finds that the CUP standards in section 4.3 are satisfied, and the issuance of the CUP is in general accord with the current comprehensive plan, and the applicant has expeditiously applied for this permit after the fact for this structure upon notification that a conditional use permit is required for an accessory dwelling unit.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for 325 Madison Avenue. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Not, nay.
Thank you. Okay, the last conditional use permit is for 654 Monroe Avenue.
They are seeking to convert an existing 576 square foot accessory structure as an accessory dwelling, and specifically for the second floor for living quarters and the first floor for recreation purposes with no parking of vehicles within the structure. As indicated in our report, this is an accessory structure that was permitted and it has been used as a garage. They are looking for a conversion of this now for an accessory dwelling unit on the second floor. First floor for recreational items such as a pool table and ping pong table. Again, this would be in compliance. We did note that there really is no addressing in their application for the loss of the on-site parking that had happened through the garage facility. So I hope they would like to speak to that. I did want to note, when we put the staff report together, we did not have certain elements still of their application coming in. Those were received by the department today, the site plan and the layout of the interior of the structure. We didn't get it till mid-morning, I don't even know what time.
Yeah.
they
Mid-morning.
came in.
Yeah.
But we have received it, so I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, and you've gone through the site plan since we don't have it, and indicated that all accessory structure as well as accessory dwellings have been met, other than the nonconformances that are existing.
That's correct, because again, it was an existing structure, so I can't say I went back and reviewed it for height compliance at this point in time, but it's an existing structure. They're now looking just to convert its use from being a garage to a component of partial living space within recreation space below.
So
Okay,
it's a two-story dwelling?
Yes, it is.
I mean, two-story building? Mhm.
Yes.
and how are you addressing parking then?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yes, the Wilkins are here.
The park, well, this is Mike Ryan and Donna Wilkins, they have me down as Anna Wilkins, not Donna.
Sorry.
And it's probably my handwriting. We do have parking in front of the garage that clears the sidewalk, so there's ample parking for 3 cars right in front of the garage without impeding any flow of traffic. It's also the alleyway, and there's street parking on Monroe itself. So we don't think we've taken parking away.
Okay, thank you.
And I just ask that the staff report then reflect that
Reflect
when
that.
it comes to town council?
Yes, I can, and again, we're happy to show you the site plan that was provided to us. It was hard, again, to assume that they would provide parking within that structure. It did appear to be enough, but I could not presume that. I'm glad they put that on record at tonight's hearing. Yes.
Any more questions down here? No questions?
We're in the same situation with this, that they need to get the building inspector to approve it.
They would actually need to comply, again, because while it's an existing structure, it's never been used for dwelling purposes. They are looking to do a conversion of it. That is what this hearing is about this evening, is a full conversion from a pure garage to now have dwelling space on the second floor. So they still would, of course, need to comply with obtaining a certificate of occupancy through the appropriate building permits, yes. Any public comments? Are we at that point?
Yeah, so, does the applicant like to speak?
Well, we're very new to your town. Michael and I originally bought property in Bird's Nest, and we loved to be down Cape Charles, but so far we decided we needed to live in Cape Charles instead of Bird's Nest. There's no restaurants up there. We did just very ignorantly rented the property. It's already finished, ready for occupancy, not knowing that it wasn't allowed. And, you know, it's helpful to have someone there. It's a great location. You know, we love it.
Thank you.
And when we bought, we were initially told by the realtor that it was already ready to be rented, just no one had rented there. We don't, you know, we didn't know, we just believed you.
Yeah.
But it is pretty.
All right, thank you. Are there any public comments? No? All right,
Well, I'm sorry, who lives in San Antonio? Oh, San Antonio, Maryland?
San Antonio, Texas, I have a home there.
Oh. But you live,
Michael and I both work out of Baltimore, Washington Airport. We're flight attendants. So we have property in Texas, we have property in Bird's Nest, now we know it's Cape Charles property.
okay.
okay, any other questions? Do we
Make a motion?
Have a motion?
All right, I make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval of a conditional use permit for conversion of the accessory structure into an accessory dwelling unit at 654 Monroe, and with the following condition, that they obtain a certificate of occupancy through the building department for this accessory dwelling unit, And we find that the CUP standards of section 4.3 are satisfied, and that the issuance of the CUP is in general accordance with the current comprehensive plan.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, so that takes care of the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion, we close this public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, should we have any, you're free to go if you, unless you want to stay.
Oh, there was sincerity for you.
I don't blame you.
Darn, cocktail?
What's that?
Thursday.
Yeah,
Thursday night.
Thursday.
Thursday night.
No,
Not here on Mason,
Yeah.
Chases.
Three Chases.
No.
No.
It's the soft serve.
Is
It's
it
the
what?
soft serve.
It's good.
All right. So do we have any public comments?
And they are public comments on any items that was
Not
not
on-
subject to a public hearing.
Correct.
So I would be out of line if I said I just wanted to get like a list of what we consider as a board to be the checkpoints for an accessory dwelling unit approval. Well, I mean, I listed the things that I thought we needed, but we pretty much didn't go with any of those, so.
I think we need to schedule that from either a work session or as an item
On the agenda.
on our regular agenda. It's probably a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, no public comments? Tracy? All right. So unfinished business. Continued discussion and review of proposed amendments to proposed revisions to the Planning Commission bylaws, including appendices to the bylaws. Citizen participation guidelines adopted by Town Council on 7/22/2021, and Code of Ethics and Meeting Rules of Order adopted by Town Council. So we met in a work session and went over that, and then the bylaws were provided as part of our agenda packet. I looked it over. I will go first here and say that on page 5 of the bylaws, on the order of business, at the top of the page, it shows in there that it says new business, comma, including public hearings. And it was the way we said it was, public hearings would be like they are tonight,
Sure.
right after the consent agenda, if we have them.
Right.
So it's just like our agenda is tonight. So that's the one thing that I saw.
So unfinished business would drop down.
Yeah.
One,
Right.
And
yeah.
then, well, you just, yeah, and we,
Correct.
right,
We will make that correction.
okay. That was my one thing, so. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a couple grammar things. I'll get to you afterwards. I'm not going to
Okay.
waste time here. Under 4.5 on page 2, I'm just looking at this, and this is what we agreed to, but I'm just thinking vacancies in office, meaning us, shall be filled immediately by regular election procedures. Really, it goes through town council, right?
Right.
No, not the leadership, which is chair or vice chair. That's what we're referencing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
That takes care of that one.
Oh.
Very good, that's good.
Yeah, it is under.
I had the public
that-
hearings.
It's under officers. and there's-
That's all I had.
Mike, did you? Yeah, Mike? Go ahead.
8.3, is that still in there, that the chair may matters.
That's still there.
It's still there. The chair may speak, make motions, and vote on all matters.
I think what was the objection is the fact that we had taken out the requirement of seconds for motions. And so we put that back in so that seconds for motions are still required. Because I think the concern was maybe the chairman might run away with the entire meeting and involve no one, discuss, motion it, vote for it, and adjourn. So we put the requirement of a second motion back in.
Does that satisfy you there, Mike?
Yes, I guess that'll work.
Okay,
Yeah, person can't, yeah, okay.
okay. Other comments? All right,
Let's see, before we get off there, section 9.3, based on what we did tonight, does the applicant comment come before public comments?
Yes.
yes.
They're meant to, yes, and
Yeah.
I think we are still a work in progress of learning the new procedures, of
Okay.
how we're convening these hearings and
Yeah.
hosting them. So we're gonna do our best to continue to work to follow this process.
So
That's right. It's correct the way it's written there.
it's correct the way it is? Okay,
Yes.
okay, gotcha.
We were a little loosey-goosey tonight, but we got there in the end.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So we can either make amendments, or we can,
No, I'll make a motion that we accept the bylaws as written with the change on moving public hearings up before unfinished business.
Did you have some editorial
Yeah,
changes?
I have spelling.
We're going to go
if
after
there's
that.
minor grammatical corrections, I hope you will
Right.
let us do those, yes.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion, further discussion? I do want to say thank you
Yes.
to the staff
Yes.
for doing this.
Yes.
And thank you.
It's a heavy lift for you.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
that took some time and effort, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. New business.
And before I actually talk into the scheduling of the public hearings for November, it raises the actual calendar moving forward, starting in November. And I apologize with my not always paying attention to the changes of state law. I had forgotten that the governor had made Election Day now a state holiday. And November
what a nice
2nd, which
guy.
would have been
Our
your
first Tuesday.
November, whatever it is, your first
Right.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
would have, not would have, it does fall on Election Day.
Right.
So we need to move your November meeting to a new date. And so that does impact
Okay.
when we would actually schedule these public hearings I'm requesting you to schedule. So with that said, I'm happy to talk to you about the two applications we've received in and are looking for authorization to schedule them for public hearing.
Shift it a week.
Upon whatever date in November we pick as our next meeting date.
Well, in the bylaws, it states that, it would be, you could do it the next Tuesday, didn't it?
If you couldn't hold one, if you canceled one,
If it
it
falls
moved
on
to
a
the-
legal holiday, an alternative date may be canceled in advance and you guys approve a subsequent date. Otherwise, it would be the subsequent Tuesday.
Right.
And that's what I'm aiming for, but I realized I hadn't really checked with everybody if that really worked on your calendar, and I kind of sprung this on everybody with this agenda. So I didn't want to presume you really had the second,
So
Tuesday available.
it would be the 9th of November.
yes.
Now, you talked about two being scheduled. I only have one here.
What is it?
One what?
We got, one of our 410 Harbor is one of them.
And we have Randolph,
In
Yeah.
Randolph Avenue. It's
The
on your
mini
agenda.
golf
the
course.
mini golf one.
I didn't, I saw a cover
No, it's in
memo
the-
that, yeah, I saw it, but it wasn't requesting a, I guess we'll take it when we get there, okay.
Is everybody okay with the 9th?
Yeah.
I am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we hold the public hearing for 410 Harbor / 100 Madison on November 9th.
Thank you.
I didn't catch that. 410 Harbor and what?
It's also tagged with 100 Madison.
Oh, okay.
It is, because when you pull it up on the map, they actually have
Okay.
doors that are on the two streets. It's a corner lot. So-
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are there any,
We gave them the sharp memo twice. Yep.
so we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
On the agenda for,
Let's
That-
do with 410 Harbor first, because I do
410
realize
Harbor,
we
that's what I'm
have- we
saying,
have a
that's what he
call.
said.
Yes. So you have a motion and a second, just to move 410 Harbor, 100 Madison Avenue to a public hearing
Right.
November 9th.
Any discussion on that?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right.
So relative to the second item, we listed on your agenda, I do realize flipping through the agenda, we actually gave you the same memo twice for Sam and Amy.
Yeah, that's-
Sharp. I
Right.
apologize. We actually have
Okay.
received an application for Randolph Avenue for 4 tax parcels for Tom and Kate Austin, proposing a mini golf course pursuant to Cape Charles zoning ordinance section 3-8B2. And I'm looking through the rest. I know we gave you the memo from
Yeah,
Allison
well-
Fincham talking about this.
It's in here, we have a layout and,
Layout.
and the architect's drawing.
Yeah. So we did not include the staff report on that, and I
We had
apologize for that.
discussion on it about parking. I
So,
remember.
Well, there was, so,
that's okay.
so I understood that initially there was a concern about parking, but it looks like that they've solved that.
It was-
That's correct. They did go to the BZA to try and seek some conversion of existing parking spaces to be dedicated for
Golf cart.
golf carts with some relief from the full parking requirements. That was not approved at the BZA. So they have moved forward to meet all those requirements within the existing site. They've now provided us their landscape plan, architectural plans, everything at this point. So they are prepared to go to public hearing pursuant to your vote this evening to schedule it as such.
And we will get a full,
Yes, you'll get a full staff
Staff
report. I
report.
apologize for that.
okay,
Again, all the staff report did was put the matter and ask you to schedule the public hearing.
I understand.
But we did give you all the drawings. I apologize for that oversight. That was just us moving too fast.
And that's
Okay,
on
so-
Randolph. What address is that?
We have not assigned a full address to that yet. I need to work with the building official
Okay.
based upon the site plan as to what that address will be.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to move this to public hearing.
Yes. We haven't heard
Any-
a motion yet.
I'll make a motion that we move this use of mini golf in zoning district C3 to a conditional use permit public hearing on November 9th.
second.
I'm sorry. I must be losing it here.
There's a lot of paper to go through, Guy.
We're almost there.
Just 163 pages. All right, discussion?
Okay.
Looks pretty interesting, I will say that.
Yeah.
Bocce thing.
Yeah.
Are they gonna, the clubhouse,
Okay.
we don't know if they're gonna do anything. They're not gonna have, like, are they gonna have food or
They may have some light snacks, and
Okay.
so we do have.
drinks and stuff like
Their
that?
full drawings came in today for the clubhouse as well, so you will get an entire packet
Okay.
for the public hearing,
Okay,
the whole works,
All right.
yes.
Is it possible to get it before the Friday before? At least the drawings, so we can go look at the lot? Sure. Okay, thanks.
okay, so I looked at these, it's got the 4 lots right across from the entrance to Old Heritage Acres, or whatever it's
Yes.
called now.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. So really,
Great.
if you look to the east is Eastern Shore Custom Carts, and to the west,
Is that the museum?
Is the
no,
museum.
it's 2 lots before the museum, and I think those are, one's for sale and the other one is sold or something.
Okay.
All right. Ready for the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Approved. Okay, review and adopt the November 1st, 2021 through October 31st, 2022 meeting calendar, which immediately follows the harbor thing.
And we will actually move that November, oh, I did that already, so we're there. So you're November 9th, sorry, just want to make that clear. Sorry.
Okay.
November, yeah, 9th. Yep, we're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we do need a motion from this board.
So, I want to just tell you another thing. You look here in these regular meetings, and you go down and it says Tuesday, November 1st, 2022.
But that's not an election.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
It's the first Tuesday. It's always the first Tuesday of November. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
But 2022, is there an election?
Oh, yeah, that's the normal cycle for representatives.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, then I apologize.
And certain senators.
Okay,
Yep.
no, I didn't catch that. I'm right there with you, Tracy.
Okay.
Or maybe shift that one a week too.
So that would
Okay.
need to move to November 8th.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the 2021-22 Planning Commission regular meeting dates with the change from November 1st to November 8th, 2022, and the dates correspondingly for complete application deadlines.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And one,
Appointment,
I do want to state, just so you know, we appreciate you doing this. This is actually going on your website under the Planning Commission, and it'll up there as a schedule, so everyone will know what are the dates for your hearings and the dates for applications completion to be in by.
good,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing is appointment of planning commission member to the Harbor Area Review Board. So, we have, if you'll look at Libby's memo, it mentions it's got 7 members. They currently have 4 vacancies. Of those, 2 of those are citizen. Out of the 3 citizen position, 2 of those are vacant. And the other one, another vacancy is the PC representative. We have 2 representatives on the Harbor Area Review Board. Diane is one of them. We also have a representative that is also on the DRB, and that is Mike Strube. We also have a representative on the BZA, and that's Jim Holloway. So, Ken, how would you like to be the member? How would you like, I mean, how many times have they, when was the last time they met?
December 2019.
2019. However, I will say that, the stuff about, there was some, at least I read about it, that there was some action on the Canoni and whatnot, so, I guess they got a buyer for their property over in Norfolk. So,
So,
anyway, so there may, no.
You're correct in
Norfolk-
saying this, we view this board will become active, and we are trying to be proactive in
Yeah.
ensuring we have a
So
full
it
complement
makes-
and structure, and reminder of everyone what your responsibilities and oversight
Yeah.
is, so.
Yeah.
I will be staffing this board, and I am working to get them fully formed, so I can convene a meeting to get everybody brought up to speed, and similar with our bylaws and rules of conduct and organization, that's all.
And a discussion to start on their design guidelines that are woefully out of date,
They are,
2006.
yeah.
So, report of officers and committees.
Well, so who are we,
I'll make a motion that we
Ooh, no.
nominate Ken Buda, regardless of whether he wants it or not.
What, did you say that
I
again?
just saw his head go up and down.
Say that again?
I am nominating Ken Buda for the open position.
I second that. All right. Any discussion? Kim, would you like to say a few words?
Motion to
Thank you for this great honor.
Yeah. Talk to us about this next month.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. Reports of officers and committees. Katie, can I, and Paul, can I mention?
yes, I think
Yeah,
it's
okay.
appropriate.
So, there is going to be an RFP release. We're gonna go out for bids for, the comp plan, putting it together. Doing a, more than just putting it together. They're gonna look at what we have, and they have the RFP, the request for proposal states, you know, they need to basically get it together and work. There's gonna be a future land use map that will have to be done. But it's also tied in with zoning. So, and redoing, looking at all the zoning ordinances. And that's phase 2. Phase 1 is the comp plan. And so that's going out, and I think they want something like 19th of November is the.
It's the response deadline,
is
I
the
believe so.
response back.
So we will forward that RFP to all of you. It gets posted, I think it's a Friday.
It's supposed to go out Friday, right?
It's already been posted today on our website.
Okay,
It's posted.
And it's been sent to the.
Okay,
so
so,
that's a good thing.
yes.
Do we have to have this land use map before that date?
No.
No.
Do we have
That's,
to have what?
That's for the
no,
work.
no.
That's correct. They
No.
are going to, whatever consultant we end up bringing on board, they are going to receive the work products you've been doing for each of
Yeah.
your chapters. Even if they are still unfinished or in progress, they're going to receive that
Yeah.
information as we select
I
somebody.
made
and
a move
note to
forward. myself to clean up mine.
Well,
Send it
I
to you
think,
before that
I
time.
think you have a date, don't you, that you need that stuff?
as this board tackles each chapter that is going onto your town webpage that's dated for the 2019 comprehensive plan update. So we are posting that information there. So as we get to each chapter, we'll continue to post that information there.
To me, that's not,
Yeah.
to me, what we should be doing is posting anything that we have right now.
Yeah,
Whether
we
this
do have
group-
that. We do have
Right.
that. We've done that, but I think what they're talking about is over the next 2 months, we have
Oh,
additional chapters
we'll be
forthcoming.
updating, yes. Oh, what I'm saying, by November 19th,
Oh, yeah, we
the
have
bulk
that.
proposal. So whatever you have
Yes.
this week, we need to get to Katie and Tracy for posting on a
Yes.
website.
It's already posted.
Oh, you don't have it all.
No, you don't. You don't have mine yet.
You may have old stuff.
You have
People
old
have been
stuff,
working
but
on it.
I-
In the meantime, we need to
Yeah.
ensure the latest, and even if you have one that's gonna be updated 2 weeks from now,
Then
get
that's
it,
fine. Get
and we
it
get
to
it
us with the
posted.
date, and we will put it up there, yes.
Yep.
So,
Even if we haven't met as a group.
That's correct. You
Yes.
give whatever you have.
Okay.
I put the last one that you sent me.
I know,
so-
but I know I need to talk to you.
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't understand how this works, so I'm gonna ask a question. So it's posted, and so are you saying the public can look at it at any time?
The RFP.
Okay, and
public
they
look
can
at
then respond to what they're seeing at this point in time?
Right.
Okay, then, we're gonna, the whoever gets the contract, they take everything we have and put it together. Then does it come back to us?
Oh, yeah.
For us to
Oh, yeah,
approve?
we got it.
Okay,
We'll
okay.
we'll get 3 draft copies, one for us, one for town council. And
Yeah,
one-
and they'll decide amongst themselves whether additional community
you.
input is needed. We've already explained to them all that has been done, and that's been provided on the website as well. And we're not asking them to start from scratch. It's no,
Right.
we did all this stuff, we've collected all this.
Right.
Here's the write-ups.
Yep.
You can decide good or bad, holes or not, and as a professional consultant now, go to town.
Right.
And is that the person who will hold the public meetings for the final draft?
Yeah, as far as their roles and responsibilities,
Yes.
they will be
They'll-
setting up those through the town when those particular meetings will be held.
They'll be the lead to run the hearing, they'll serve in that capacity as staff, yes. So,
But is there going to be a
there's a
a
public,
town meeting
there'll
where
be a
we?
public hearing required before the planning commission on the draft comprehensive plan. Once you finish and provide a recommendation, then a public hearing has to happen for the town
But
council.
that's more or less when the
Yes.
entire draft is put together.
Right. But
They
we are
may-
gonna have a community meeting with
They
the
may
rollout
have-
of a draft document.
Oh, like a town meeting?
On
Okay.
our scope and sequence of,
Okay.
that's on the website, it talked in phase 2 of having stakeholder meetings. I know we spent time identifying who the stakeholders are.
Yeah.
And then 2 other meetings with the public in general. So are we skipping those and then revising what phase 2 looks like? Or will, in the RFP, will these folks have to also help run those meetings?
I don't know what you mean by phase 2 of what,
So there are 3 phases to the
of
process.
the RFP.
No,
No,
to the
To the
comprehensive
comp
plan
plan, that's
development.
on that was from our initial,
Okay, so yes, that's,
and that kind of got waylaid
yes.
when we
Right,
had
COVID
the
certainly
COVID
got in the
stuff.
middle of that and
So
created some issues.
we had identified the stakeholders,
Right.
and that's all we had done.
So
And-
that was phase 1.
Yeah, but we haven't, but we just identified the categories, but that's where it's
Okay.
ended.
So I guess my question is either we need to revise that scope and sequence.
Yep.
Or we need to follow it.
That, right, yep.
Do we,
Yep.
just a thought.
Okay.
The work session that we did in the firehouse, that was with council and planning commission,
Strategic plan.
Strategic, yeah.
there was a lot of good discussion and stuff that happened.
That's
there.
all folded into the RFP.
It's all in the RFP.
It's all there.
It's on the website too.
Yes.
But I know Libby was taking notes, I think.
Yeah, it's all posted,
Yeah,
all the
right.
results.
Yeah, because I was thinking,
Okay.
that's a great thing to give to somebody who's gonna be writing. Yeah, okay, good.
Thank you.
And we'll eventually get, for instance, Main Street is going through a study, survey. Once that gets all collected, whoever was selected by then will give them that study and they can use that for the purposes of what chapters are impacted.
And as part of this, just for you two guys, part of this thing would be a GIS, ArcGIS, with appropriate software. That's part of their deliverables, but I mean, we're talking about maybe not tomorrow, but maybe down the road, having our own, because it's got so many, it's gonna have so many layers on that. Like one of them is the Main Street district, okay, the historic district. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to put that out. Anything else from officers? Standing report here, from Katie. Katie is in here.
And I know this might be new to you. I do feel that you, as the planning commission,
I think it's great.
should know what subdivisions are working their way through the system.
So please tell us where Village L is in Bay Creek.
It's within Bay Creek.
Thank you.
19 lots. Is that in Bayside Village?
Okay.
Yeah, it's north of Bayside Village.
Okay, is that like
So-
right off
Okay.
it's right off of the
Yeah.
Bayside Village Drive?
And we've, actually, the way this is happening is we approved an entire concept of Village L, so the total lots, and we've already done the water and sewer certification for the whole Village L, but now the actual construction plans are coming through with the
Okay.
individual developments, and they are gonna come to us in phases. So you're gonna see, that's what came through most recently, Phase 1A of 19 lots. What I can do moving forward is include a little map, so that you guys really know
That
the
would be
areas.
wonderful.
Yeah,
That's,
I can
that's,
do that. Yes.
Okay.
Is there going to be, as
Thank-
part of that?
Thank you.
Is there going to be, as part of that, the marketing definition for that L? Because there's a lot of discussion going back and forth about names and what it is and where it is and all that stuff
I have been,
inside the community.
I have been talking at length with the agents from Bay Creek that it would be great when these submissions started to come through as final plats.
Right.
We came with the actual subdivision name that was going to happen. And they
Fantastic.
did make me aware there are still some internal discussions what those
That's
names
fair.
are going to be, which is
Yep.
why that hasn't happened.
Understood, okay, good.
And so I am urging that we try and get to greater resolution of that, because these documents are going on record to the
Yep.
clerk's office.
Right.
They go on record over to the Commissioner of Revenue's office,
right.
who actually creates and assigns these into the
Yep.
county GIS system.
Right,
So being able to track the appropriate subdivision name to it would
Yep.
be really helpful if we knew it right from the outset.
exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
and
Thanks, Katie.
and C there, is that because of the,
I can tell you about C, so I'll jump down to that one, which is the final plat of Recombo. When the preserve communities purchased the Bay Creek property as a whole and made the decision to convert one of the golf carts? No.
Courses.
Golf courses.
9 holes, yeah.
They did a Recombo plat, and that was done just about a year ago, 8 months ago, somewhere around there. And then in the last 6 months, as they've been doing a further revision of things, they realized there should have been a cleanup of some little edges, basically, of parcels.
Okay.
And so that's all what this final Recombo plat that I just signed off on was really cleaning up, making parcels a little more geographically specific, so that they were squares or rectangles instead of these little odd angular pieces, things of that nature.
Okay, got it.
When do we expect the
Okay,
PUD,
thank you.
the PUD to come back for a revision?
Good.
That has been communicated from the town manager back to Bay Creek to go ahead and commence work on their revisions to the proposed PUD ordinance changes. They think about 5 to 6 months for that to come forward. So-
Okay, because they were, at one time, going to deliver it last December.
Right, but everything got put on pause, and it doesn't mean they haven't stopped, it's potentially could happen sooner.
All right, so
They're now kicking
all
it to
your
their
approvals
attorneys.
here is in
Yes.
accordance with the PUD as written right now,
Yes, yes.
okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Katie.
And then
Thank
just to back up,
We d-
we jumped right over the first one, the Dreams by the Bay. That is within the corporate limits of the historic area of town, over on Washington Street where the old Coast Guard property is. I just wanted to make you aware, they submitted a preliminary plat this summer. I've done the review, provided all my comments back. I'm making you aware, because I'm not sure most of you may have been aware that this was sitting out there, for a 10-lot subdivision over there. I don't have a final plat coming back in addressing all my comments, but they should be coming soon. That's about the best I can tell you, okay?
I have a question, because
Okay. Thank you.
it just so happens I work for the Coast Guard, and I'm curious about this. I happen to be
Thank
the
you.
finance guy, too. Is this the north side of Washington Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah, it's that vacant area over there by the
Yeah.
cul-de-sac.
Was it just demolished or burned down?
Yep.
No,
I don't know. I
no, they
wasn't
they
given
didn't
that.
burn down, they just were condemned,
Not
basically.
condemned,
The
yeah.
Coast Guard said,
Okay.
we don't want to use these anymore.
Was it prior to them having the Coast Guard station?
I don't know, I don't think so. I
No,
think-
no, no.
No, this is just,
It was done about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was right after I came to work here that they closed the base housing had been.
that was their
vacant
base
for some
housing.
time, and then-
Gotcha,
It was
okay.
a base housing, that's what
Okay,
it was.
makes sense.
They had like four duplexes over there, okay?
Okay.
It's typical military
Military housing.
duplex
Yeah,
housing.
gotcha, okay, thanks.
so. and-
Okay.
I'm going to. And then
Thank-
the second item under the staff report, this always should have been told to you. And I just wanted to give you the code section that states that you're supposed to know when their application's filed to the BZA. On the off chance that you as the planning commission wish to comment or weigh in on those applications pending before the BZA. And that means the planning commission as a whole. So at this point, we have no applications for their October 5th meeting. And in fact, we have had no applications for their November meeting either, so. But from here on out, you will just see this as a standing. If there are applications, I'll tell you what the details and location are. And if you wish to weigh in, we can have the conversation at this meeting and prepare such a response to go to the BZA. I did have one more item that came in today, and you received a copy of it on your dais before you. I was notified that the Northampton County Planning Commission is meeting this evening at 6 PM. Again, this also still has to go to the Board of Supervisors, but they have received a rezoning map amendment to rezone 4 parcels from Town Edge 1 to Town Edge Commercial General. And these are on Langford Highway. They are just south of what used to be the North to South restaurant, now the Smoky Bones or something restaurant. So it's south of that, it's 4 parcels, so when you look at the map, this whole little square that they've identified, that is south of that little restaurant, south of the ice little store, south of the bank. Sorry, if I put myself this way, sorry. Those are all south. And the large parcel behind them, some of that does fall beside the bank in the back. Does that make sense?
Okay.
South is this way?
Sorry, which way, where is Langford?
Okay.
If I could find Langford, that would
Oh,
help, yes.
it's,
Right
close.
here,
Yeah, there's
right
some.
here. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Langford. Okay?
All right.
Okay.
So they are proposing.
Thank you.
On the area, at the back end of the property, which would be adjacent to the bank, a 10,000 square foot retail area. That is the primary, initial proposal of development. I did not find any details behind that retail proposal, when I looked at the agenda, on the planning commission. And VDOT has actually not signed off on the traffic impact study either, because there is not sufficient detail as to the traffic impact counts associated with the proposed development. And I also wanted to identify on this site plan, concept plan, they have shown a future mini golf proposal as well Again, there are no details in the actual full proposal or application that went in with any specificity as to what that would entail, service, proposed number of traffic trips, or anything. But again, because this is town edge, under the county documents, they want to inform the appropriate localities, and which is this town, and so that they have now provided it to us. So if we wish to put in any comments, we do have the ability to still submit comments to the Board of Supervisors public hearing on October 12th.
Well, I think you should at least tell them that we have a mini golf going in.
Yeah.
to a-
Sure.
And make sure that they are aware of that.
Sure. And I do concur with the notation, with the letter from VDOT that was included in the whole agenda packet for them. I don't think there is sufficient information about the type of retail space and type of use to help us determine traffic counts and what sort of access on and off the property, and if the sufficient lighting that is in that area of Route 13 really will handle this appropriately. So I do reserve our ability to make further comments until the entire traffic impact study is completed. So I would also put that forward if you concur on your behalf.
And where does this road go? The one here on the...
That's the bank road. That's the back bank.
Does it,
Yeah. that's the
will
back.
I guess what I'm asking, is it eventually going to run into Stone?
I don't know.
See, here's the bank. The
No.
bank is right here.
No.
This is the bank right here. See, if you look, this is the entrance to the bank,
Okay.
okay? It just
So
doesn't-
you're just saying this road here goes around the bank?
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's
Yeah.
not scheduled to go all the way through
no.
to give another entrance to this? Okay.
So the
Okay.
light that's
Thank you.
across from Food Line,
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
new light,
that's right there.
so that's
Where?
It's right here,
Where?
Right
this
here.
one, yeah, the one to the north.
right here.
So if you're
There?
standing looking
Oh,
at
okay,
what
thank you.
is gonna be the barbecue place,
It's there. It's on here. It's right there.
it's,
That's the barbecue place right there.
so it's directly behind it.
It's, yeah. See, it says existing restaurant.
Yeah,
And then you got the little ice thing right over here,
right,
right there. See it?
yep.
Okay.
I'm pulling this up right now to mark it so you guys can see this a little better.
Yeah, that doesn't make
Mm,
sense as
all
an
right.
entrance to me.
Well-
We have a traffic light.
Well, they got
there,
another,
it's
would-
close to the
they got
ice.
another entrance. Maybe it's an exit coming out. Yeah, it looks like an exit coming out, but anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Katie,
Yes.
can you, for next month, can we make sure that we have something on there about, at least to start on the accessory dwelling unit? We just need to,
Sure. Let me just close the gap on this one really quick, because you just asked the question, would this empty out onto Stone Road or 184? And you're correct in saying this is abutting right to the bank property. The bank itself does not have a clear direct road onto 184. There's the bank, this is the property in question, so is this moving further south, because that's the little restaurant that's there now that, I'm not exactly sure what's it called. But there is no direct access right now onto 184 from the bank.
Malls or something like
That
that.
property line?
So,
Malls,
yeah, that's the
yeah.
property line. So, or it could be a dirt road of
Is that
some
what they
sort,
call
it's
the
not a
restaurant?
complete.
Malls?
So, as I said, that's,
chain, isn't it?
I would put it, that's why I would like to put in the comments on your behalf that we'd like to see the entire VDOT traffic impact study of both uses and trip counts before we feel we've weighed in sufficiently.
We also make a comment that says, we'd love to see this.
Be a target?
Well, not the night
Okay.
of a meeting,
Thank you.
you know, a week or two before a meeting.
Yes, I will make that comment.
And
that-
this is announced, Eastern Shore Post announced.
Thank
So
you.
This isn't something, you gotta look at the newspaper and look to see
Right.
what's happening and look at parcels.
A 10,000
It's not
square
gonna
foot building,
necessarily be
that's a big
spoon-fed to you.
Okay, so moving on, you asked about the accessory dwelling unit. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. So I do know internally, staff there have been multiple staff and departments now working on ensuring we've got a good database of accessory dwelling units, accessory structures, how they relate to the transient occupancy tax, and something else I'm missing, and the inspection of those units by the building official as well. So, and that is being done at the behest of our town manager, recognizing there needs to be a full conversation on accessory dwelling units, and how they are being handled, both through the zoning ordinance and our various town agencies that have oversight over them.
And how many
Whether
we
through
need.
the provision of taxes associated with them, the inspection services associated with them, et cetera. So we recognize that issue, so this is timely, and I think we are close to being able to come back with at least a good database finally for our consideration, and moving forward to debate this issue as a whole. What should we be looking for?
I will just make a comment here in that, in Bay Creek, there are a lot of the new buildings have two-car garages or three-car garages, and they've got stuff above them. Now, whether it's built out or not, I don't know. But that should have been inspected, so, I mean, and I'm under the impression that some of those were built out. And if they were built out.
Okay,
they
As
weren't-
separate units?
Yeah.
Oh.
That
Thank
they
you.
were not brought to us. Just saying, okay?
okay,
Um,
all right.
So, and I mean, I'm talking at least 4, and they're all in Bayside Village. Well, there's one in Heron Point. So,
So if they come here, if we take them,
If they're short-term
Thank you.
rentals,
they
then
would
there's
be
talk.
legal,
I'm not
right?
saying they're
No,
rentals or
no,
anything.
I'm just saying, if they're that, there's talk. If they're not, that doesn't come into play.
There's tuck.
Well, I'm
If
just
they're
saying that,
being talked.
I'm just saying that
If
the-
they're
the-
short-term,
the
there's
building,
Oh,
And the
before,
town should know about it.
right,
Yeah.
so I'm just throwing that out.
Okay,
We might
But-
want to.
Okay, thank you.
Jeb, ask
Sure,
him.
sure, and I think that is one element. Yes, there are certain units he does inspect within the Bay Creek area that are considered accessory dwelling units. They may not have had to require coming to this body. It depends on what the PUD ordinance says about accessory dwelling units.
Yeah, right.
So I just
Oh,
want
really?
to
Okay.
state
All
that,
right, okay.
so, okay?
Thank you.
Will we get a chance to actually see the PUD guidelines, or whatever the document is?
The PUD ordinance is
Oh, no.
available on the county website, the town website. It is part of your zoning ordinance. I administer it, in terms of when building permits come through, I'm reviewing it for zoning
Okay.
clearance or compliance.
Good,
If
good.
things are outside of it or require some deviation from it, we've referred those over to the BZA for
Got it.
variances, et cetera.
Okay.
There's
That
not
sounds-
much that actually require, the PUD does not really bring oversight to the planning commission of it. Really, the planning commission's only oversight of the PUD is when it gets amended.
Got it.
That's when it would come before you for a public hearing and then on
Okay.
to the town council
But
as well.
this is a good subject for the PUD, because
Yes,
in the PUD, they adopt our ordinances or have a cover sheet on changes. So they'll say, we adopt the ordinance, Article 2, in total. Or, no, we have the following definition changes ourselves that apply to the PUD. In this particular case, this PUD hasn't been updated since 2007.
it's been a while.
We have adopted accessory dwelling units in 2017.
Right.
You go to the PUD, it's not going to talk about it, and our requirements. That's why we need to get this document updated.
Yes.
Yep. And,
Okay,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the town planner has a role of reconciling the PUD document with the town ordinances. Is that correct?
No?
I don't say
No.
reconcile, but I don't agree with your word choice. Try
No,
again.
that-
Okay.
huge.
Yeah, okay, reconcile may be too strong of a word.
Done.
Um,
Yeah. I can do it.
The zoning administrator needs to be
Okay.
as familiar with the PUD requirements
Yes.
as they are with our zoning
Yes.
requirements
Yes.
outside the
I
PUD.
am in the PUD as often as I'm in the zoning
Correct.
ordinance.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right.
That is a constant. And I am with you in saying the PUD is silent on additional dwelling units on a property in terms of the garage conversion of a second story of a garage, things of that nature. And it doesn't limit or restrict any rental units either. And again, which tells me, I think there's a clear knowledge and understanding that there's rental of these properties occurring.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not prohibiting it in any way, shape, or form, but I do think we need clarity if there's meant to be additional dwellings on the property, how we're supposed to handle and permit those through our system, yes. Okay,
All right, so
Okay.
I guess we're on.
Thank you.
Announcements.
yes,
The next meeting, like was already said, is November 9th.
yes.
We have our work sessions. So the next one is October 18th.
Yes,
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
I make a motion we.
Okay, thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
we're adjourned.
We're adjourned.